Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this show runs through the ages. Sinners and saints, goblins and haints, but beware as they say we're contagious. Sick with the truth, we uncover the lies. We beat on the drums as they march side by side. Wake up, my dear friends, and smell that fresh roast. Last night shall no longer exist. You're here by yourself, but you're never alone, as we spin stories you'll hear in the mist. Reptilians and greys, we folk who stay hidden. Mysterious booms, archaeology forbidden. Stay away from the village, keep off of the moors. There's a lady in white and bloodstains on the floor. So sit back and relax, take the load off your feet, as we're here to amaze, entertain, and complete. You see, my name is John, and Stacey's here too, and my, do we have something in store for you. Welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow, with your host, authors of Till Death and Beyond, John and Stacey Edwards of ParanormalSideshow.com. Hello and welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow. I'm your host, John Edwards, and joined as always by my lovely wife, Stacey.
Hello.
And we have some headlines.
We do, and we have a great top story this time. It is all about, and I know you've seen this, the Monolith in Utah.
Yeah, I might have heard something about it.
You may have seen something about it. Well, there have been quite a few developments and new things happening.
And before you get to those, Stacey, let me just go ahead and say this, okay? So we'll get in the halftime, because, coming up in the halftime, and you guys will understand everything when we get to halftime. But during halftime, I'll explain a little bit of why we couldn't have done the story. But right now, I'm going to say our local news sources that we get, and the people, we have the little, I like to call them our little rats that rat out their installations and everything under the cover of darkness, and they never get killed for it, by the way. So if you feel like whistle blowing, blow my whistle and let me know, how what's going on behind closed doors. But in this instance, it wasn't that. I blew my own whistle, and I found this story by going through all these local feeds and all these local places and keywords, and I just so happened to find the day this first was reported locally. So I get a hold of Stacey, and I'm just like, oh my God, we got to do a show. I was sick at the time, so you'll understand this. And she's like, I don't think we should do it because of this. And I was like, this is going to blow up. So,
he's actually sounded much worse than that.
So, freaking 4 days later, all our friends of the show start sending me, the Monolith thing. It's hit CNN, it's hit Fox News, it's hit
every YouTube video.
It's hit Gotham Tonight, it's hit all these places. And if you know me well, and you know what I'm like when I get upset, okay? For some people that are close to me, it's apparently comical when I get really mad, okay? Because it's something like, cartoonish, and I'm just like, ooh! Every time I would see it, old man shaking fist at clouds.
Think smoke coming out of the ears.
Oh my God.
Face getting red kind of thing.
Because it blew up. But now I'm kind of glad because we have a little Paul Harvey going on. We have the rest of the story. It's a deeper mystery than it ever was.
Exactly.
I give you Stacey.
Okay, so let's just go over the whole story, and though most people probably have already heard it, but on November 18th, the Utah Highway Patrol posted a photo to social media. They were flying in helicopters over this very remote part of the state, and they were doing a count of the bighorn sheep. And this is in the southeastern part of Utah. It's out in the middle of nowhere, and they happened to notice this metal monolith, this really strange object, out there in the middle of nowhere. They had no idea what it was, and they took some pictures and videos, and they posted it, and they're like, what do you all think this is? And boy, did it blow up. People went nuts over this. Now, they didn't give away the location of exactly where it was because it was very remote, and they were afraid that people would try to go find it and get lost or stuck or not be properly prepared for the environment and need to be rescued, etc., etc. But that doesn't stop people on the internet,
Not in this
especially when they think that there might be something UFO related. And this did look very UFO related. It was this shiny, it would look like stainless steel, just tall triangular monolith just cut into the rock. And you could tell when it was installed, there were saw marks where it had been installed into the rock somehow.
Right.
So I'm going to quote, air quote, saw marks. That's what they said.
Right.
And just very strange. Nobody had any idea where it came from, how long it had been there, what it was for, or anything. So like John said, this story just blew up. It was on all the major news networks. It was everywhere. What is this odd thing doing? It was clearly an illegal installation, because nobody has permission to just go randomly put things out there like that. But, nobody took credit for it. Nobody's come forward. So as this went on for a few days, a week or so, people, found out where the location was. There's plenty of videos on YouTube of people driving out to the location and taking pictures with the monolith and doing readings and, just trying to figure out this weird mystery. And then it disappeared.
Yeah.
In the cover of night. Just gone.
Mm-hmm.
So the Bureau of Land Management claim they have no idea who took it. They did not remove the installation. They even spoke to their spokesperson. Her name is Kimberly Finch. And she claims that they had nothing to do with the disappearance of it, that they never publicly disclosed the location, and that they did not personally send anyone out there to get rid of it. Now, one of the strange things about it disappearing is that in its place, there was a pile of rocks and a smaller pyramid that was made of what seems to be like the exact same metal that the monolith was made out of. And that's all that remains in the location now. And you can find pictures of that. People still go out there and there's like this little pyramid and this weird stack of rocks. But the monolith is gone, no explanation, nothing. And in the articles that you read, one of the Utah helicopter pilots, he claims that he went, and this was last Friday, he was flying over the monolith on Friday afternoon, showing some of his friends, what he called a, quote, fun piece of art. And then about 24 hours later, a buddy of his, who was also a helicopter pilot, was flying his family out there and noticed that it was gone. So it was within that time span. And just to get even more specific, I found another article, and this one was from the Durango Herald. There's a photographer for the Durango Herald named Terrence Simon, and he went to view the monolith on Friday as well. And when he got there, it was him and another one of his friends who's also a photographer, and they got there around 1 p.m. on Friday, and there was a packed crowd. Like, you couldn't even get good pictures because there were so many people there that it was kind of too crowded to get a good shot of it. So they waited, and they waited until nightfall to take the photos. And by the time they took the photos, he said they had it to themselves. The photos were beautiful. It was, getting dusk, and there was just a little bit of light. It was about, 7 p.m. was when he left. So they took the pictures, 7 p.m., they left. And that by 11:30 that night, another group went to visit the monolith, and it was already gone. So Friday night between 7 and 11:30 p.m., someone swooped in there, took this huge 12-foot tall metal monolith, and who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows what happened? So.
So that's the story. Mm-hmm. 2020, folks. Mm-hmm. We're not done yet.
Nope.
All right. So let's get to the obvious things.
Okay.
Could it be a hoax? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Percentage of it being a well thought out hoax or some funny haha, probably in the high 80% range. Mm-hmm. I would say. And, so we always have to keep an open mind, but don't let your, not so much that your brain falls out.
Right.
It's one of those things that I have to say that as a disclaimer before I say, holy crap.
Right.
There's a metal monolith that's 12 foot tall that is in a remote area that nobody really should have seen this. Nobody should have found this. If you're going to do some kind of hoax, you put it downtown. You put it somewhere on top of Mount. Okay, you find somewhere that somebody's going to travel there. They're going to see it, and it's going to be very, very alarming when they do. You don't put it in the middle of, the mesa. I mean, you don't.
Right.
You just don't put it out in the middle of no man's land, especially a place that it's illegal to really, hang out there or leave stuff there or whatever, and dangerous.
Yeah.
So also some people that I follow that live in that area. People that I like to listen to and whatnot, they did some live videos and went out there. So I got to see some live footage of it, and they did some measurements and all that good stuff. The thing is actually really strange. I mean, once you get up next to it, it is pretty weird. I mean, it's odd. And, even some of the official things. As soon as this happened, I told Stacey that if this is real, they're going to have a backup story coming in no time. It's going to be, this was a big art prank. This was something, here. This was something there. And they tried. I think there was already some of those things, coming out, some speculations, right?
There was a whole article that came out that claims that people on the internet have solved the mystery of the monolith, and it went through this whole backstory of what it took for them to find it in the first place, because they didn't disclose the location. So they talked about how they had to track the flight paths of the Utah public safety helicopters first of all, and then when they got sort of a general location, they went to Google Earth and sort of scanned it until they found the exact location. And once they did, people started going there. Of course, everybody put the location up on YouTube, and they've started putting these theories out that, one, a lot of TV shows are filmed in that area, one of them being Westworld, and that maybe it was just a prop that got left behind, or several movies have been filmed close to there, like Mission Impossible 2 and 127 Hours. I don't really go with that theory, because I feel like if it was something from a movie or a popular TV show, people would have recognized it.
Oh yeah. I mean, it would have been all over the place, or they would have already come out with it, since it's been over a week now.
Right. They would have said, "Oh, we left that there."
Right. I think that would have been fact checked, and obviously Hollywood has nothing better to do right now other than going bankrupt than to watch the news, probably. So they would have seen that. It's really by this point in time, with as much attention in every major news outlet, covering this, because, hey, look, we all look for distractions right now. I honestly even thought maybe a political party could have placed this out there, going, hey, I know what'll not make them think about anything. Let's put this out there. I'm just saying, stranger things have happened.
Right. Okay.
It might not be putting aliens on the White House lawn, right? But it's something pretty close. I don't know. That's the conspiracy theories. That's the things of what, if it is a hoax, what could it be? So let's look at this as what we know so far.
Right.
And what we know so far, we cannot just say, okay, this is a hoax, because that would be as narrow-minded as, just saying that it's UFOs.
Right.
Only.
Just saying one way or the other.
Right. So, going into the whole, thing of where we're at right now, again, this is a place that you don't travel to. This is a place that people just don't go have picnics at. This is forbidden to do things like this, or to leave things, or to screw with stuff out there. It just because it's protected area and what have you. So you have this monolith. Now, we all have visions of the monolith, especially from Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey. Now, for some of our younger listeners, you may not know what that movie is. I don't blame you, because it's before my time as well. But I do know, pop culture wise, and of course I've seen the movie, what this is. And it's a monumental movie as far as the filmmaker and the film itself. Now, where this gets strange for me is who has been tied to NASA and a conspiracy of the moon landing being faked and all that. Well, Stanley Kubrick, he's the one that put all the crazy stuff in his movies, like The Shining and what have you, Eyes Wide Shut and all this. There's all this crazy imagery, all these hidden. There's not a scene in a Kubrick movie that doesn't have something extra, and it's one of the reasons I love that. There's films made on his films, just to break that down. Now, I'm not saying that that has anything to do with it. It's just a fun little part to this story that the monolith was really popularized in pop culture, if you will, from the fact of that movie. And of course, you have like the monolith that is famously on Phobos, the moon of Mars, that really came into public consciousness with the Buzz Aldrin, ramblings on a C-SPAN interview that everybody can look up on YouTube right now. Every now and then, Buzz, it's like Buzz don't take his meds, and his handlers get all freaked out because he's out there. 99% of the time, Buzz Aldrin's like, there's nothing to see, American hero here, it's and it's all poppycock, God bless the USA. And then every now and then he's like, there's alien bases in Antarctica. I'm telling you, what the hell? The medication wore off. Hey, help me. It's really kind of creepy, and it makes me think like his Dark Materials, kind of stuff, like where she's drugging her. And of course, you guys haven't got to that in the movies or in the TV show yet. That's in the books. That's in the books. You should read the books. But I don't know. It's very interesting because of what we think of. Our mind directly goes to UFOs. Our mind direct, especially in this past year, especially with what has come out as being fact. I mean, come on, guys. 2019 and 2020 are such weird, strange years that 2020, they actually come out and go, yeah, that was actually true. That was all our footage. That we don't know what the hell those are. We're just pretty sure, there. And then we got this crazy random flaccid rock going through it keeps zooming around the planets. Every time I think it's gone, they're like, oh, well, here comes it again. The interstellar object is so much so that I want to name a band Interstellar Object. It's that big of a deal. And again, it's unprecedented. I think that's the one word that if I was going to write a book on 2020, I would just call it unprecedented, because so many things have happened, and it's scary in many ways, and in other ways, I think it's really exciting. I think that maybe we look at it wrong. Everybody's like, oh, screw this. We got to get over. You know what? We're going to have a lot of stories for our grandchildren. But I mean, what do you think, like, in your opinion, what's you have to have a thought on what do you think this is?
Honestly, my thought is I'm just as confused as everybody else. I don't want to go out there and say, yes, this is definitely alien, because there's a chance that it might just be old. I mean, the material it's made of could have been sitting there for a long time and without anybody noticing it, and who knows where it could have come from.
Okay, so I thought we went through satellite imagery, and that goes back to 2016 that it's been there?
Some people did do like the historical imaging, and they've
Is that factual though? Do we know that actually happened?
It does say in the articles that there is historical imaging data that reflected that the monolith arrived sometime between like August of 2015 and October of 2016. That's the most general range. I think when you look at things like Google Earth, you can back up the pictures and it'll tell you when it was taken, but they don't take them that often, like especially in remote areas like that, they're not going to take pictures every month or every,
right. The Google car don't need to drive by every now and then.
Right. Well, and I think these were probably just from the top, just satellite images. So no, it has not been there for a very, very long time, according to that, if that's correct.
That's a lot longer than, one would think as far as a hoax.
Right. And if the Utah people fly over and count these sheep, I'm assuming
the Utah people.
The Utah people.
Sounds like a new. It's like a new Stephen King novel.
Utah Public Safety.
Because he would totally write that one. Trust me.
The Utah Public Safety helicopters
the Utah people.
Clearly fly over this area a lot, especially if they have to count those big horned sheep. Surely they're not counting those sheep once every 6 years.
Yeah, you haven't seen a big horned sheep.
So the fact that they've been flying.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Margaret. I'm going to have to go out again. And
are you going to? You're not going to go count those sheep, are you? I don't understand.
Well, yeah. I mean, come on. I mean, they're bighorn sheep, and I keep losing count. I don't know what happens. I get to this one area, and the compass goes crazy, and I just kind of black out a little bit. I mean, they're magnificent animals. I mean, just magnificent animals. The horns are just so big. I just don't know. I gotta go back. And so I get it. I really do. Don't discount the bighorn sheep.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying that if they...
It's a very stupid story. Like, the reason that they found it.
No, I know, because I
would have came up with something else. Even if that was my job, even if that was my everyday flipping job, okay?
Right.
Which I'm sure it's not. Like, they have to be park rangers or they have to be something. Forest agents.
Well, I'm sure they rescue people that get stuck out there.
Right. Like, that sounds a lot better, right?
Right.
Oh, we were just doing a patrol, making sure that there was nobody that had gotten stuck out in this area.
With the bighorn sheep.
I mean, it's that time of year they get a little,
those dangerous sheep. We don't want to leave them out there.
You don't want to be around a horny bighorn sheep. It's a very remote area, and the sheep haven't seen people in a long time. They don't really know. They just know that it's hot. It's bighorns.
Well, I'll tell you that that people are really confused about what this is because they're really stretching for any kind of possible explanation. For instance,
I believed it as soon as I heard the reason they were out there. Honestly, that's what made me believe it. If they had said we were on a rescue mission, there was some kittens that whatever, anything other than counting bighorn sheep,
right?
Well,
I mean, I'm just saying that the reasons for the monolith that they're coming up with, you can tell that they're really confused about what it is because they're giving you these really ridiculous explanations, like it was left there by a production company. Westworld or something. I think the only other explanation that I've seen, like theory or whatever, is that it was an art installation that somebody left out there, to be found. And they pointed to this one sculptor named John McCracken. And he has a piece of art. He's like a minimalist sculptor. And he made a piece of art that looks almost exactly like the monolith.
Because he's a minimal. I mean, that means he gets a piece of metal and lays it down. And people are like, oh.
There's a picture of it.
How brilliant.
This gallery, the David Zwirner Gallery, posted a picture on Twitter. And the caption.
That's such a white people thing.
I know.
I mean, listen. I got to get a little racial, okay? You're not going to see. You're never going to see like 10 black guys in an art gallery going, well, I'll tell you, that right there, that they're going to be in there looking around going, what are all these crazy ass crackers looking at?
Why are they all staring at that pole?
He literally got a piece of metal and laid it on a plate. I mean, I got that in my backyard.
Yeah, they're making millions of dollars.
It's just such a. I don't ever like to get into politics. I don't ever get it. But if you ever want any proof of white privilege, white privilege would be a lot of people paying a lot of money,
right,
for that kind of art.
I don't understand art like that.
And
like
yes,
that
my email is open, so go ahead and send it. I don't care.
Well. Anyway, this gallery, the David Zwirner Gallery, they tweeted a picture of this sculpture that he had that looks exactly like that monolith in the desert. It's a triangle, stainless steel, it stands up. And they said the portal to Utah is at David Zwirner 20th Street. And it was just making the joke that, they were the same and it was like this portal thing. And so, the New York Times went and talked to Patrick McCracken, which is John McCracken's son, because John McCracken passed away in 2011, which would make the timeline, if the 2015-16 thing is correct, wrong for it to be this guy's art installation. But he did say that when he saw it, it made him think back to this conversation he had with his dad where they were standing outside and his dad said something to the effect that he really wanted to leave his artwork in remote places to be discovered later. I think we all kind of say that at some point in our life.
Oh, I've left it.
His son felt like that was very much in his artistic vision.
Yeah.
But there's no evidence that he actually did that. The timeline's not really right. I mean, that is like a super, super stretch of the imagination. And those are the only explanations that I've really seen.
And that guy's 15 minutes too. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You know,
exactly.
he's like, I mean, and plus we're talking about the New York Times, which is arguably.
I feel like the gallery is just trying to bring people in.
Yeah, the paper of scratched record. I mean, it's just, I don't trust anything right now from anywhere.
Right.
But I mean, those guys have been debunked more times than, you know.
Well, if all of that wasn't strange enough, let me just add one little more piece onto the story here. And this is a story that just came out. Absolutely just came out. And it's about a mysterious monolith that is similar to the one found in Utah that has now appeared in Romania. And it's a metal monolith identical to the one found in Utah that has appeared on this hillside in Romania just meters away from a historic fortress. I mean, clearly right in the middle of an area where people see all the time.
Well, I mean, that's where you want to fake it. I mean,
exactly. This one, it says that it was one side's facing Mount Choclo, which is sort of known as locally as their holy mountain. It's one of the most popular mountains in Romania. Like, everybody knows what it is. It's roughly around 13 feet. So it's vaguely, I think the other one was about 12. So they're almost identically the same height. The only thing that's different, and when you look at pictures of this monolith, is it's not as shiny as the other one. Like, there are circular marks on the outside where you can tell that someone has, you know, polished it down, almost like they made it in a hurry and put it up really quickly because they wanted to have something similar. You know, that, like, my feeling is this is just a copycat thing and they did it really fast and like popped that sucker up there. They didn't even take time to buff that thing out or anything.
My whole problem, my problem with that, with people like pointing to like, well, there's rivets, you know. Listen, man, just because it is alien doesn't mean that they make it all with a, you know, some kind of, the high technology doesn't have to mean that it's just seamless. You know, it doesn't, in my opinion. And I would be much more scared that it's something from government that is somehow covering up a portal or, you know,
or marking something,
and
right.
in some way weather manipulation or whatever, you know. God knows what it could be. It could be from beings that live within the earth. You know, it could be anything.
They're shoving things up through the bottom.
Well, I didn't mean like that, but that would explain where it went so quickly, wouldn't it?
It's true. They're just pulling it back down.
Just pulled it back down. You live in such a cartoon. Quit. Get that. You got to get it out of your head.
I know. I'm sorry.
But no, I mean, it is very strange that, especially as much as this thing's been viewed, that it was able to disappear like that. And I believe it disappeared without a whole lot of proof of anything, you know, like, did anybody try pushing it over?
Now, this one in Romania, it does say that it seems to be hollow. And also this one, where it's installed is on a well-known archaeological landmark. So this one is super illegal because you're not supposed to put things, you know, on archaeological historical sites. And it's very close to this fortress that it's like the ruins of a fortress that was destroyed by the Romans in like the 2nd century AD.
Of course it was.
Yes, of course it was. And you can still see the remains, you know, parts of a city wall and things like that. And
Damn
just meters
Romans.
away is this shiny monolith with the one face going towards that mountain, which is one of the most famous mountains. It's
Chaco.
listed as one of the 7 natural wonders of Romania.
Wow, I didn't know there were 7.
I didn't either. Romania is not that big of a country, didn't they? 7 natural wonders.
Well, I know one natural wonder is the forest. If they don't count it as one, they should.
They should.
Yeah. I mean, that Romania's got some weird place. It lives up to its hype. I mean, is that how they advertise for like travel blogs and stuff? Like, come to Romania, see weird shit. I mean,
we would go.
Yeah.
That would draw us in a heartbeat.
Well, I mean, it's somewhere I've always wanted to go, if nothing else, because anytime they say nobody can stay here overnight, it's just like, it's such an invitation. Because, listen, I can. You have no idea how well I can stay, you know, whenever somebody puts that out there. But listen, on the monolith. So it's mysterious that we found it. It's mysterious of the timing, in my opinion,
right,
that we found it this year at this time. And let's just say, hypothetically, that it is from an alien race. Okay. And they did remove it. They were waiting for us to find it to see the reaction.
Right.
The reaction was one of excitement. It wasn't one of fear. And they're like, okay, well, we're going to put the next one down. We're going to see how this goes. Maybe there's some kind of puzzle, some kind of clue, some kind of, the problem with the monolith is you can't really check orientation because you could look at it from either side, literally.
Well, they are triangles. I mean, seriously, they could be pointing towards something.
Right.
I don't know if anybody really did the sight lines from the points or
somebody
whatever.
Had to.
You would think so.
You would think so. The measurements had to have happened, and the whole thing is, it's just really, really weird. I mean, it's a weird story, and I can't wait to see where it goes. Like, I really want this to, if it is debunkable, if somebody does, come forward, I would actually be happy because then we could stop wondering, right?
Right.
If they don't, I mean, right now, we should take the one in Romania. We should take it, open it up, check its origins.
Well, yes and no. I kind of want to see if it disappears and leaves a pyramid behind.
Yeah. So the pyramid, right? I mean, that itself, we need to open that. We need to get in it and see what, if anything, is there. We need to sample the dirt underneath. We need to check for, Geiger counter stuff. I mean, it's very, very strange, man.
It is. And the monoliths, they do overlap a little. It says that this one in Romania was found on November 26th, and the one in Utah was removed on the evening of the 27th. So they just barely overlap.
Well, I think we need to get some of the main things out of the way to start with, as far as, regardless of what it could be. I do want to say that with some of the people that I do follow online, they went out and did some, pretty thorough investigation of it as much as they could, and seeing that they had used, a concrete cutter for putting it into the stone, and it seemed like it was hollow, and they could see like the, cut marks and things. Their opinion was it did look like man-made, a piece of art or something. And my whole thing to that is, listen, if it's not something from space, it could very well be something. I mean, it's mysterious regardless, okay? You don't just go out and build something like that, for giggles. I mean, the things it could be, Jesus. I mean, what if it somehow was marking an underground installation? If it had some kind of communication in it, it would feel hollow at that point. Some kind of, stuff they didn't want people to screw with or to be away from weather or whatever. But at the same time, it was easy to find for those who are looking for what they need to look for. And maybe it was for visitors. Maybe it was because UFOs need, when they're visiting, that we have treaties with, they need a place that's remote to come into. They need a place that they can be signaled, and there's a transponder signal in this thing. So yeah, there might not be any EM or anything. I think the government might think of things like that before they would put it out there. Right. And it could totally, in a place like that, where better to have an underground base or an underground installation or, than a place like that, especially so protected, right? Right.
Well, the fact that it's hollow, I mean, there could have been something in it. It's been there for so long. There could have been something else in it, or, been another piece on top of it that's gone now. I mean, any of those things.
And listen, don't be hurt if somebody comes out and says it's an art project, because here's the thing. If you want strange things and mysteries on planet Earth, guess what? There's a ton of them, and they've been here forever, and people ignore them like the plague, because, you can go back to ancient Greece, you can go back to way further than that, and there's things in broad daylight that people visit every day and accept these stupid stories on the construction, or the mile-long ramp they made to make it, or the 7 wonders of the ancient world. I mean, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, things like that. There's a lot of crazy stuff out there, and so it's the mysteries abound. They're everywhere. This it could very well be something incredible that we found that would signal, hey, this is, like I said, this is here because it's signaling them, and they would also want to get rid of that as soon as they could, and which they seem to have done. Somebody did. As far as conspiracy theories go, that's the one I would go with first. That yes, we made it, but it was for some kind of communication, and what have you? I don't know.
Very strange.
It is very strange, but it's a cool story. We will obviously give you updates as we get them. And with the one in Romania, I know Stacey had done some Google Earth. It's not on the same parallel. It's not. We were hoping
it is also hollow.
Yeah.
But that's all we really know about it. It's a little more in plain sight than the one in Utah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you were saying, like in Romania or whatever, and it's just right on the mountain, and Mount Chaco or whatever. I mean, listen, it's interesting, right? This is what we're here for. Strange stories. But if that can't be your headline, then I don't know what can.
So continuing on with our headlines today, let's go on to this next story about a mysterious object that is hurtling towards Earth, and the scientists don't know what it is.
Are they baffled?
They're baffled. They're only halfway baffled. They have an idea of what it might be, but they're not 100% sure.
Okay.
But they have a pretty good working theory, I think. So there's this mysterious object, and it's going to fly past Earth, I believe, about in a few hours, at 3:50 a.m. on December 1st. It's going to fly. Now, it's not going to hit us, and it's not going to be so close that they're worried about it. It's going to be 31,605 miles from us. I mean, that's pretty close for a space object, though. They call it extremely close, but safe approach. And it's going to pass us, and it measures about 15 to 33 feet across. Now, this object was discovered by a telescope that was based in Hawaii back in September, on September 17th, 2020. And they confirmed the find a couple days later. And it's just one of those near-Earth objects that they were watching. Now, initially, that suggested that the object was an asteroid. But as they kept watching it, they began to suspect that it was not a normal asteroid. Now, they're calling it 2020 SO. I don't know how they come up with the names. They have 2020 So 2020 has been bad enough. Who cares if this thing's going to come hit us? That's why they called it that. So they're saying that they're not sure that it's an asteroid, or that it's even a natural body, that they feel like it is absolutely something that's been made, not like an asteroid or a comet or anything like that. So as they're studying this and trying to figure out what this thing could possibly be, they have tentatively identified it as the Centaur rocket booster from NASA's failed Surveyor 2 lunar mission, which launched back on September 20th, 1966.
Wow.
They came to this conclusion after they turned the clock back, started running the object's orbit backwards with a computer, trying to figure out where it came from, what its trajectory was. And the CNEOS director, his name is Paul Chodas. He's the one that suggested this, and he came to this conclusion after, doing all of his turning the clock back, and he found that the object had already passed relatively close to Earth several times over the past decades. And so he finally got to a moment that indicated that there is a possibility it could actually have launched from the Earth. So one of the possibilities is that it is this space junk or whatever. However, they aren't 100% sure. So as it approaches the Earth, they said they're going to observe it in order to determine whether or not it is actually a piece of space junk from the 1960s or some other piece of something that they don't know what it is. They are pretty sure that it's not a natural object, though.
Oh my God.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is crazy. I mean, so it could have a bunch of upright chimps, like, just coming back and being like, hey, what the hell? Why are the humans ruling? Wouldn't it be crazy if it was like reverse apes?
Reverse, it's the planet of the humans.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's that's really cool that they actually said that You know, it doesn't look like it, you know, that it was definitely... I mean, this could all be going into the deal.
It could be.
I mean, this could be your big false flag right here.
Mm-hmm. Well, they said that because of the object's low relative velocity and its orbital plane, that all supports the argument that it was not of natural origin.
It's not like them, though, Stace. I mean...
No, now, granted, they've known about this since September. It's going to be here now, and you know, we're just sort of now hearing about it.
Yeah,
but
it's still not like them.
No,
it's
normally
not like
they would
them
just
to
say.
even say. I mean, it's just not like unless Johnson screwed up again, and it was just like, Johnson, who are you on the phone with? Oh, hold on a second, sir. Yeah, well, the only thing we really know is that it's not a rock. It's definitely man-made or made. And Johnson, who are you talking to? The paper. You know, unless something like that happened. We know how Johnson can be.
Right.
And they would have to try to smooth it over. But listen, even if they knew it was a Winnebago, okay?
Right.
If they could actually see that there was a giant Winnebago coming, okay? They wouldn't normally let us know. Normally, they would either just not mention it or say something boring like, there's a near-Earth object that is no danger to Earth that will be coming within 400 million miles. It's really close in Earth talk.
I mean, they could just say space junk.
Yeah,
you know?
and nobody would care.
Right.
So whenever they point it out, that's very strange to me. So basically, by the time people listen to this, you'll either listen to this or you won't.
Well, it does say in here that they suspect, like their calculations claim that it's going to orbit around our planet as a temporary satellite until about March 2021, so for a few months, where it'll get caught into a new orbit around the sun. Like it's been caught in our orbit now, and then it would be caught into this new orbit around the sun. So I suppose if all that happens, then maybe they were right. It was just space junk.
So if that doesn't happen,
I guess I don't know.
If that doesn't happen, they're going to be like, oh, maybe when that happens, there'll be a bunch of sky trumpets like when it goes by.
Maybe.
It's been blowing its horn every time,
It's been, get out of the way, beep, beep.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know what we got to do, sir. We played the sky trumpets. We caused mysterious booms.
They're just not paying any attention to us.
They're not taking us serious. It seems their government ignores it.
Maybe they should have come in a bigger ship.
Yeah, that's always the answer. We need a bigger ship.
Yes, so we'll definitely update on that story. I'm hoping that they will come out with an
or
update
we won't.
saying, yeah, exactly.
Or we'll all be slaves.
That's right. We'll all be working together.
Yeah.
For the alien race.
We'll let you know in the soup line. So, all right.
So while we're talking about space, let's do this other headline we have here. And this is about a weird molecule that has been detected on Titan that's never been found in any atmosphere before. Isn't that strange? So Titan, is already pretty weird. It's one of the moons of Saturn. It's definitely one of the ones they tag for potential life. They talk about it all the time. It's on the list.
Didn't we recently do a story where we had a life, building whatchamadiddle?
That was Venus.
Yeah.
They thought that they had found the molecule in the atmosphere. I think they're still peer reviewing that.
Yeah.
And seeing how that stands up.
Yeah.
So, funny enough, they haven't really talked about it that much. So.
Just it's not every day you hear molecule in
true.
normal conversation, and here we have 2 stories in relatively close time of strange molecules.
That's true. So they think of Titan as this real life laboratory. They already feel like there's a lot of stuff going on there, a lot of different reactions, and they feel like underneath the atmosphere there's water where there's
life there, pal.
Potential life. So now they have detected cyclopropanoidine.
Bless you.
In its atmosphere, and it's an extremely rare carbon-based molecule that is so reactive that it can only exist on Earth in laboratory conditions. And it's so rare that it has never before been detected in an atmosphere in the solar system or elsewhere. Now, it says the only other place it can remain stable is in the cold void of interstellar space. But they consider this as a building block for more complex organic molecules.
Wow.
So it's definitely, the reason you don't find it is because once it comes into contact with another kind of organic material, it instantly turns into something else.
Right. Yeah, I've got friends like that. They must have that molecule in them. They'll be one way and then they get around somebody and they instantly become that person. It's not as uncommon as you would think.
So it's very strange. They're trying to figure out, they even said in this article that they're trying to figure out if Titan is habitable. And so they want to know all the different compounds from the atmosphere, how they get to the surface, and how that material can get through the ice crust to that ocean below where all the habitable conditions are.
Yeah, that's where all the mer people live.
Exactly.
I'm telling you, there's life on Titan. There really is.
I mean, it's like they keep coming out with all these little things, just pointing to it.
There is life on Titan. Listen, we just entered like an active solar time as well, and we had an X-class solar flare.
Wow.
Just yesterday, and thank God it wasn't directly facing the Earth. It would be a game over. That's how big it was. And by game over, I just mean it would knock out all communications and all that good stuff, which would be freaking fantastic. Sometimes I think maybe I wouldn't think that when it happened, but it probably is going to screw up some satellites. One cool thing is it's going to go right past one of the sun observing satellites that's kind of made to be hit with one of those to see what happens. So we'll get a lot of data from that. There's just a lot of weird things going on right now in our galactic neighborhood, not just on the planet. There's some strange alignments right now that are kind of uncommon. We just came off a full moon. It still looks full right at the moment. There's a lot of things going on. So I'm very interested in our little buddy that's going to be going by the Earth. I'm interested in Titan's, mimicking molecule, whatever that thing is. It's just it seems like there's a lot of things happening
right
at one time. It's almost like we've got a bunch of lines in the water, and we're fishing in a fish hatchery. I mean, that's what it feels like. I mean, you and I know that.
Right.
So it really feels that something's going to have to nibble, right?
You would think so.
And it's happening soon. I mean, I feel, I really feel more than ever that it's going to be the fact that we're going to wake up, turn on the news, and there is going to be something huge.
Right.
I'm not saying tomorrow or the next, relatively soon. There's going to be something big, and it's going to have something to do with some kind of discovery. I think that if it's not from above, it's going to be from below.
Right.
And because I still believe there's a lot here that we may not have yet discovered that is just as magnificent as what's out there. But I don't know. I just feel in my soul that something's about to happen. I feel that there's a lot of little clues that are going on that they're out there giving it to us. Yes, they're blowing their intergalactic horn. So I don't know. That's some really crazy headlines. Really, I mean, all of them are strange.
Yes, I agree.
So anyway, thanks for the headlines. On the backside of halftime, we'll be catching up with some more I like to call them Stacey stories. Some of the fun, some of the, they're still newsworthy, but we have a little bit of fun with them. And in fact, so what's some of the things coming up after?
Well, we have somewhat of an update to a story we did a couple of months ago, some different information about it, something cool that some people found in a very, very old, like 16th century house. That's always fun. Of course, our favorite ghost hunter, Zach Bagans, has bought something strange, as usual. And, some ghostly activity in a village and something scientists are doing it's questionable.
Well, I mean, that's every episode, Stacey.
I know. But some cool stuff, so
cool.
Stick around.
Well, it's time for halftime. All right, and welcome to what we like to call halftime. And if you're wondering what the hell has happened, well, here's what's happened. Every now and then I like to change things up. I put Stacey in a wig, dress her up like a nurse. It's just good to change things up every now and then. But you guys might not realize this, but I think it's a good time as any to let you know. Long about 10 years ago it was a Monday night, December 6, 2010. And on that Monday night, December 6, 2010, at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, live, we went with our first episode.
Our first episode ever?
Ever.
Wow.
Haunted South Paranormal Podcast went live, pal. And we came on with one of our friends, Serena Gordon, and we went mediums in the digital age, and we got on there to talk about, that kind of stuff. And it was fantastic. That first episode was spectacular. We went a full hour on Blog Talk Radio. And, we were real excited about it in the studio down in Kingsport with our good friend Wes. And we had such a good time. And it was just that we were excited about the prospect of it. We just had filmed our new documentary. We had all kinds of things coming up. We were working on our second documentary. Everything was going great. Our team was great. Everything was good. And then after this wonderful episode ended, which we had a lot of live support, there was a lot of people listening who are the only people to have ever heard that episode. It is our first episode, but it was not recorded. There was a problem with the hard drive, which was a recurring theme. We had technical difficulties from time to time, and that'll happen. But nonetheless, December 6th, 2010 at 9 p.m. in the East, we went on live for the very first time. This is our anniversary episode.
Well, good.
And just thought that was really cool. Whenever we get around it, it's definitely within the week that we're in.
Right.
So it's definitely our anniversary episode.
We redid that episode and put out a version of it, didn't we?
We did.
It wasn't as good, maybe.
It ended up being our second episode. The very next week, which would have been December, I think we did it on December 10th. December 10th, we did the Reverend Dale Gordon.
Yes.
A different Gordon, no relation. And his was Paranormal Hitchhikers. And Paranormal Hitchhikers, are you impressed?
I'm impressed that you remember the name of it, yes.
Paranormal Hitchhikers ended up being our first episode, which was really our second episode. And third episode ended up being Mediums in the Digital Age with Serena Gordon. And then our fourth episode ended up being It's Haunted with our good friend Wes Forsyth.
And you can find all these episodes on our Patreon. With our back catalog.
There you go. So, and with the changing things up, and nice segue.
You're welcome.
We're going to do things a little differently from here on out with the show proper here. Because, listen, we put a lot of work into finding these stories and really digging to find you guys each and every week something new and exciting and weirdest stories that you can find anywhere. Strange stuff, and then follow up on it. A lot of work goes into it. It's not just a couple of minutes of Google searching. It takes a full day of prep. Now it takes all week to actually find the stuff. You got to stay on it. Follow leads, see where it goes. Call people. I mean, there's a lot of things that we do that you don't know about. And then sometimes they do fall in our laps, but there's a lot of prep that we do. And in doing that, sometimes these headlines get buried after a 2-hour introduction, or we do some list, or, we have some things we like to talk about or pitch or whatever. And because we just enjoy that. We've done this a long time, and, part of it's just getting on here and going, right? But then the prep gets kind of lost, and I think that sometimes we lose some of the stories in the midst of time. So, there's been so many times that we've done stories that we see come up 3 months later, and we're like, hey, we did that story. But what we're going to do from here on out is, like we're doing today, the show starts with the headlines. Whatever that is, we're not going to put a number on it. There could be 4 important stories, ones you really need to hear.
Right.
Then we're going to go into halftime, and then we're going to come out of halftime with the back half of the news. And, there still they're all important stories to me, but sometimes it's more lighthearted fare or super weird or funny or, stuff like that. And that's how we're gonna do this. Our list and whatnot will be during the halftime. All our pitching will be during the halftime. We're not going to start off with trying to get people directed to the Patreon or anything like that. That'll all come off during this part. Now we're also going to timestamp every description. So if you like to listen to the show in pieces because maybe you listen to it on the way to work, and you don't have that much time or on your lunch break or whatever. This will be perfect for you because each story will actually have a timestamp, and we'll have a timestamp for halftime and even a timestamp for things like my list. So it'll say at 1 hour 53, John's top 10, blah blah blah, and so that way you can really go into it and listen to what you want to listen to until you get it all listened. And I think
it sounds right.
Yeah, it sounds right. I thought about it too, and I was like,
I mean, it seemed right. Yeah, I guess we'll just go with it.
Yeah. Anyway, you like?
I like it. I like the new format. I like being able to just jump right into the stories and get all the most important stuff out of the way.
Hey.
Well, I mean, the most important stories, not the most important overall stuff.
I believe the most important stuff is a very subjective statement. I would like to think that some people are like, God, I can't wait to hear the top 10 this week or the top 5 or whatever the hell he decides to do. So as you noticed, I know 2020 has been a very long year. It seems like 20 years, but I swear it's been longer than a week since we've been on. So
slightly.
Yeah.
Slightly.
A lot of stuff's happened, namely quarantine.
Yes. And
I got quarantined. It was unpleasant for me, and got super duper sick. But I'm not the only one.
No,
now,
that's true.
I didn't get the full on Rona. What I had was this nasty thing that people like to call the flu. And anyway, it was all the same symptoms. Except the loss of taste, which I did have a couple of days, but I think that happens with sinus infections and things of the nature. I got freaking sick, man, and it sucked. It was horrible. I had a really high fever for like 10, 11 days, and then it came back actually, which prompted me to actually go get tested, which believe it or not has me in quarantine again. As far as going into my Bruce Wayne job, but that's just about over as well. Just trying to make sure we don't spread this around. We got to be super careful, folks. And listen, believe what you want. And I'm I have my own beliefs as well. I believe that a lot of stuff is politically influenced and just really put out there on both sides. But something. Something's going on, and I got a lot of family members right now that are sick, and I know a lot of you have either been sick or had sick family members or lost people, and it's been a rough year.
It has been.
I will, I definitely want to say, so glad that our good friend of the show and good friend of us, again, doesn't sound right, but I'm going with it. Mr. Jeffrey Carter has actually had the Rona. And is coming back from it stronger than ever. They were able to rebuild him. He is now the bionic Carter. And
not sure where they got all the parts.
Yeah, I know, man. It's but they did. They were able to do it. And the funny thing about that is he still kept his lovely sense of humor and really his demeanor, which is one of the best of anyone I've ever met. He's just a quality human being. I love him to death, and we are blessed to have both of them, in our life. Started with the show here, and we don't get to talk to them or hang out with them as much as we'd like to. But hey, that's the story with everybody we know.
This is true.
Because we're always on the go. and that's just the truth of it. And speaking of being on the go, I had my return to wrestling.
Yes.
After a very long time of shows being shut down, and then a very long time of me just deciding it's not safe
Right.
to have people gathering at these shows. I didn't really agree with it.
Right.
But as they say, the show must go on. So I debuted my new team, and I got to name them Straight Fire. You like that? That's what they are, Straight Fire. But because of me and being from where I'm from, I didn't put a Z in it, but it's STR8, the number 8, Straight Fire. And a lot of that came from making gear. I started thinking about how long of a word straight is.
It's deceptively long,
It is,
isn't it?
It is so deceptively long.
Like you go to start spelling straight and it's like it just keeps going.
Oh my God. I was designing. I always play around and design the gear.
Right.
So I was making a butcher, which is a singlet. That's just what we call it, butcher.
Right.
So I was designing a singlet and I was going to put Straight Fire. And I was like, holy crap, how many letters is in straight? I mean, Jesus, why couldn't they have just, there is so many other ways they could. Right. I mean, even, I know there's like the George Strait, like there's the,
like the Bering Strait.
Yeah.
Like that's a short version of the word, but it doesn't really.
But they could have done it even shorter. Because is there a spelling out there that's proper with STRATE?
I have no idea.
Would that not be pronounced straight?
I guess so, yeah.
I mean, it would have to be, right? Why is that not it?
I don't know. I mean, to be fair, the way they do spell it's only like 2 extra letters. But when you're trying to design a wrestling singlet,
it's a long 2 letters.
That's a lot.
It is a long 2 letters.
It is.
The freaking I. I mean, I just don't understand that. That's one of those rules. How does that help that at all? It doesn't change how I say that A.
English is weird.
I mean, it doesn't change it, does it?
It does in a way, because if you didn't have the I, A has more than one sound, so you wouldn't know how to make the sound.
That E after the T, though.
No, if you had the E after the T, yes.
That E after the T.
If you did it STRATE,
yeah.
Yes, you would be able to say straight.
It completely eliminates the reason for that I.
There are so many rules. I remember when I had to teach Ariana phonics, I had to relearn all those meticulous little pronunciation rules just so I could teach her how to read.
I tell you, I would like to find a person that came up with those rules.
Right.
And just get like a Nerf bat. Because I never want to murder somebody.
Right.
But there's that episode of South Park where Cartman has like that rubber bat, I believe, or whatever, and he's trying to kill Kyle, and he's like, "Oh, God damn it!" And it's like and every time he hits it, he's like, "Ow, quit it, fat," and
right.
Like it shows it later that night, and he's still hitting him. I would like to do that to the people that made the rules. Anyway, we had a really great time out there. It's always fun to be at a show and be able to be John Hawkins. And if you guys never have seen any of my John Hawkins stuff, which I'm sure you have, I intermingle the two now. I've done it with our @Sideshow97 on Twitter as basically John Hawkins, and I do both the paranormal and the wrestling there as well. And on my personal Facebook, I have just went ahead and put John Hawkins Edwards all on there just to make it less confusing. I'm tired of the facade. I think people know the gig, right? So
right.
They're more apt to be okay with the fact that you're playing a character, and everybody's doing it. So
right.
I could hold on to the to the past or just go ahead and get with it. But one of the funnest parts to it, funnest is not a word. Remember that episode?
Yes, I do remember that episode. Funnest is not a word.
So one of the funnest parts of being there was the startled faces for the weight loss. So I lost a bunch of weight, and I go in there and people are just like, they look at you like you got cancer.
They're not sure.
And then
they're not sure if they should say something or not.
Because of candidates for cancer, I'm very high on the.
You are bald.
Yeah, so I should have tried to collect a little money while I was there started GoFundMe. I wasn't thinking straight, but
all the missed opportunities.
I had to tell them the truth, and but that was fun. I always enjoy people fawning. That was really cool. I have no idea why I have address changes.
What?
I've got address changes listed here. I don't know what the that means.
To address the changes in the show. You did that already. You can check that one off.
Just go ahead and tell the people, and you can edit it in here. We can be laughing. Go ahead.
Okay.
Unless you just want to keep all that in and beep it out where I cussed. It's fine.
I'll just leave it in there. Oh, wow.
Wow. So you just got behind the curtain a little bit?
Yeah, so we don't script the show, but John has bullet points, of things he wants to talk about. And so sometimes he forgets what he writes.
So normally, she makes it seamless when I'm going through bullet points or whatever. And just like she does with the news, when we're editing, all that comes out, all the stuff you just heard. And we had to put the beeps in there. Sorry, but I didn't want to drop the F word here on the show. But anyway, I'm sitting here looking at my bullet points, and I've got one here that says address changes. And don't look at my... you can't read ahead.
I wasn't reading ahead. You have pictures. I'm sorry.
Anyway, I've got one that says address changes. And I was like...
You were like, address changes? Why am I talking about address changes? I don't understand.
She was like, you're like, address the changes. You've already done that. Changes in the show. Oh, God.
Okay.
There's no way we could have explained that. So we just had to keep it in there. Yeah. So if you want to be a patron for this mess,
I don't think we could have expressed the need for help any more than that.
Go to patreon.com/paranormal sideshow and please help us. We actually are doing a large upgrade to the show. We are getting, as I like to call it, the Joe Rogan stuff. We are going that big on everything. We've done a few upgrades. This is the Mac Daddy of all upgrades because we're actually finally going with our Mac so we can do our Final Cut Pro. Very important with some of the things we have planned, and we're very excited about these things. I'm just going to tell you guys and not be all coy about it. The book we're working on, we have finally redone the outline to something that is more practical for who we are and what we do. And in keeping with that, it's very paranormal and it's also extremely fun for us. It's exploring something that we've needed to explore for 20 years. And it's bloody interesting. We came up with it in a very cool setting. And we've been doing a lot of, our dates have been very much with our good friend Graham Hancock. We've been spending a lot of time with, and that's not some weird, I'm not saying Hancock to tell you what we've been doing on the dates. What's the word when, oh my God, the way I live my life, everything, innuendo.
Oh, yes.
Sorry, I couldn't think. It's not some strange innuendo. No. Hancock, but yeah, we've really got into his books on tape because I own the books. This is the funny part, and I meant to tell you the America Unearthed book. You're gonna be so glad we own that book because I was looking at the chapters on our audio book, and the last few chapters are all these freaking ancient maps and stuff. They're in the book.
That's so cool.
So yes. the book actually has these really cool ancient maps in the back.
We like to listen to the audio version. We always buy the hard copy, but then we end up getting the audio version so that we can listen to it while we travel because it just makes it easier. We're both on the same page. We both have heard the same amount. We don't have to pass the book back and forth and each take turns reading it. It's there.
To be honest with you, it's not worth listening to unless I get to listen to it with her, and that's just the truth of it. Like, anything that's worth doing or knowing for me, I don't like to do it or know it if I don't do it with her.
Oh,
and
that's sweet.
I just can't go and find something that I consider cool or we would consider cool and enjoy it by myself. It's just not the same. It's just not the same. And it's like this collective mind. We have to be able to turn down the radio and discuss what we've heard. And it's going to happen a lot in these books, let me tell you. If you've never listened to any of Graham Hancock's stuff, number one, he is 1,000% legitimate, and he presents both sides of any kind of argument, with straight up archaeology to more of your maverick, amateur archaeology, forbidden archaeology. That type of stuff. And it's all based around high technology. Basically, what is it he says? We're a species with amnesia.
Amnesia, yes.
And that kind of sums it all up, because the arguments set out. And here's the thing about this guy that makes me such a fan. It makes me love him. And Stacey, I believe, for the same reasons. He originally wrote his first book, Fingerprints of the Gods, in 95. Okay, he probably wrote it in like 92, 93, 94, but it was released in 1995. At the time, his theory in that book was exactly the same as it is now. I mean, there is parts that have changed, and he admits himself, well, there's some things that were wrong, but that's going to happen.
Of course it is. There's new things that you find out, and, new discoveries and stuff.
Right, because he's like, am I embarrassed of that? Not at all. It's those things that we learn, and you still need to listen and it's really fun to see how that thought kind of developed, and so when he came out with this, he was just attacked. He was crucified in any kind of review, any kind of, you got to think, this guy is hanging out with archaeologists, he's hanging out with people from universities, and they completely scorn him. Now, secretly, they probably all believe what he's saying and all know that he's telling the truth, but they have to stay within a certain paradigm because of the accepted ideology of, what's in the textbooks. And, a lot of people are like, well, why would they have to do that? Well, I mean, because you will absolutely be defunded. You will be, just like today, we supposedly have free countries and free world and all this stuff, but we don't. It's the same thing. If you don't say the right political thing, you will be thrown off of social media. It's just, and that's not taking a political stance at all. I'm just stating facts. If somebody doesn't like you on the other side, okay, they will totally do the same to you. I mean, both sides are at fault. Because, we should be able to listen to opinions that's really healthy. You don't really get anything furthered along. You don't grow unless you're able to point and counterpoint. And the problem in today's society, in my opinion, is that we don't do that. We've, come to this point, Stacey told me years ago, she's like, the problem with the kids is they've grown up in this with the ability to click off what they don't like, or to instantly gratify themselves with what they do want, and it's all there. So you can make this little bubble of only your thoughts, and you live within this echo chamber, and there's never anything challenging that. So it's really impossible to grow. I know at my job, the hashtag Bruce Wayne job, that I had a very interesting conversation yesterday with my boss, and it was about another job that I'm, looking at within the company, and of course it would be a step up. And I was honestly trying to pick his ample brain, because I respect the crap out of this guy. It's one of the few bosses that I've had that I respect, which is a wonderful feeling when you do respect your boss, and when they've actually been there and done that and stuff. So, we were talking, and he was talking about one of my strengths, And one of those strengths was actually something that had been a weakness, that I listened to his criticism and completely changed the way I was doing what I was doing, and ended up making more to the bottom line than I ever had, so that was something that really kind of made me feel good, but it got me thinking about all the stuff we talk about listening to others' opinions. If you don't ever, if you're never willing to budge a little bit or whatever, you're never really going to solve anything. I truly don't have faith in our government of ever solving a damn thing again.
Oh no.
Not in the current state.
No.
that it's in, and it's sad because this year we really need people to be able to move things along and get stimulus packages out, and take care of people that are hungry and have been hurt by everything that's going on. So anyway, Graham Hancock, buy it, get it on audio, get you a subscription to Audible. When you're at Audible though, why don't you also subscribe to the Paranormal Sideshow, which is on Audible, which was so cool. I mean, they just obviously picked up our feed, but I was not expecting it because I live on Audible. So
right.
They were like, well, we now have podcasts. And I was like, I'm going to try it. And I just went ahead and put Paranormal Sideshow, and damn if we didn't pop right up.
There you go.
So I subscribed, and the funny thing is now in my library, I have all these books. And I have our podcast. It goes right into the library.
That's funny.
And it pops up whenever there's a new episode and stuff. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. So definitely go on there and subscribe too if you haven't already. Just as the subscriptions really help us. If you're on iTunes, leave a review. Wherever you listen to it, if you could take the time to, when you're on YouTube, you don't have to go there special. When you're on there, hit like on one of the podcasts and leave a comment, subscribe, tell other people. iTunes would be spectacular if everybody could just leave a review, put the 5 stars. That really helps us as far as where we get pushed and noticed, and anywhere that you listen to it or download it, that really helps us more than you realize. A lot of that goes on the algorithms. And whenever they have people commenting and all this, because we get a lot of listeners, we get a lot of downloads. It's just the interactions are really what's key. And, for new people to be able to come on and hear it and all that stuff. So I don't think I ever asked for it in that manner and that broken down, but
right.
I really would appreciate it if you guys could do that for us, because that helps, honestly, probably more than anything monetary would, whatsoever. Although I won't turn down, since Stacey's making me buy all this new equipment.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. I mean, when we get it in, which should be not long. Honestly, I would say within the next month we should have our new equipment. So you're going to be able to absolutely tell the difference, and we're going complete pro. I believe we have pro sound now, but we are going complete pro, really investing in the show. We're investing in something we plan on doing until we can no longer do it. So there's a lot of things that we do like that, and they're all going pretty good. And that brings us to my list.
Oh, okay. I don't even know what your list is this time.
You do not.
I don't.
Okay, so my first list here is going to be a really doozy.
Okay.
It was going to be the 20 most dangerous toys. I mean, we're getting around Christmas and, so I love things like this, but we got a list of the 20 most dangerous toys in the history of, kids. But I have my own memories from dangerous toys because, we come from an age of where if you lived through childhood, then you got to be an adult.
Yeah, you win.
Yeah. One of my favorite things from childhood is remembering this freaking hovercraft. We had this hovercraft, and oh my God, this thing was so damn dangerous. And I tried telling people and explaining to them, about it sometimes. And when you have memories of your grandfather going, "Don't put your hand under it, you'll burn your hand off," It's that kind of thing that really makes me appreciate the reason that we're gonna survive, whereas other generations may not.
Right.
But I found this. It's really hard to find anything on these, but I found this on it, and I've actually looked for this stuff before to tell Stacey. But check this out.
Okay.
We'll just call this number 21. It should be number 1, but we'll go with 21. Battery-driven electronic gadgets have taken the fun out of childhood. As a case in point, I present Peter Hirschberg's tremendously cool fleet of Testors Galax 4 hovercraft from the late 1970s.
Oh my gosh.
These little vehicles don't rely on puny batteries and microchips, opting instead for brilliantly noisy and somewhat scary Cox Sure Start engines. They run on glow fuel, a planet-choking mixture of 20% castor oil, 20 to 35% nitromethane, and methanol.
They sold you that?
You had to mix it.
Oh my gosh.
The Galax 4 has no remote control. In fact, it has no controls to speak of at all. You simply start a motor and let it bounce around your patio or yard untethered until it runs out of fuel or dismembers an unlucky passing squirrel.
Oh my gosh. So you don't ride it or anything? You just watch it fly around?
Yeah.
And try not to get burned?
It's freaking brilliant.
Oh my gosh.
The Galax floats about an inch above the ground, and the instruction guide reveals several excellent ways to destroy your new toy in a hurry. The Galax will fly best over hard surfaces such as asphalt and concrete. The cleaner the better. Grass surfaces might work, but you'll have to try each one yourself. Galax will fly over water. However, it does leave an oil slick and will not float when the engine stops. In other words, the first thing I have done with one of these is scuttle it not so accidentally in a swimming pool. But looks like there's a tribute page here that includes more pictures, a scan of the instructions, and even an MP3 recording of the FlexiDisc instructional record that came in a box.
Wow.
Because there was
just a bunch of people like in the hospital.
I think it's amazing, and the very fact that there was an instructional record that came with it.
Wow,
gives
that's
you a
crazy.
Time. I was so excited.
I'm sure I would have loved it when I was smaller, just watching it float around and stuff. But oh my gosh,
if I remember correctly,
dangerous is that?
It was like, but yeah,
it'll leave an oil slick in the water.
Yeah, it might kill a few fish,
I mean, what's it? It's leaving that down on the ground too.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness. So can I ask you something?
Yeah.
If you started it up and you put it down and there wasn't any kind of boundary, like you didn't have it in a fenced-in yard or anything like that, and it decided to just go down the street, would you have to chase it?
Well, I mean, you don't have to chase it.
Did it go fast or was it?
I mean, not always.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay.
I mean, it went fast enough that it scared you. I mean, because it was moving on its own, and
and you couldn't control it at all.
No, I remember the dogs didn't like it.
I should say not.
Yeah, and the smell was.
Oh, I wouldn't even think of that.
The methane was interesting. Wow. So. Yeah, I mean, and the glow fuel, I've been trying to remember. I think that maybe they did have a mixture that but back then you mixed everything.
Right.
I mean, you were just used to knowing how to do that. Mm-hmm. You had to mix your motorcycle stuff and your, weed eater and everything else. Right. So anyway, so let's get on with this.
Okay, so we're getting into the actual list.
Yes, the actual list, not John's crazy childhood. So number 20.
Okay.
Sky dancers.
Oh, are those things that fly in the air, like they spin really fast and go straight up in the air and you put your hand underneath them and oh my gosh, they're scary.
Sky dancers are great in concept. Cute little fairies that launch into the sky, dancing and flying playfully. Uh-huh. In actuality, they were projectiles that spun haphazardly around until gaining enough momentum to launch randomly skyward, then shoot down at dangerous speeds into anything in their path. Suffice to say, they were all recalled. This is Sky Dancers.
Wow. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we bought Ariana one of those.
Yeah.
And she played with it like one time for about 5 seconds. And she was like, nope.
And one that I have literally had every kind of injury imaginable on this. I believe that there was a legend that a kid in my neighborhood had died on one. But anyway, the funny thing is, I didn't have a slip and slide.
Right.
I had a wet banana.
Same thing.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. I think it was the same thing. Just slip and slide's like a trademark.
It's like some kids had laser tag and I had photon.
The dollar store equivalent.
That's the thing though. They weren't.
No, I know.
A lot of times it would be more expensive.
Right.
It was just like I wanted the...
Well, what you got was probably more expensive, and what you remember is the household name because it was the cheaper version that everybody could afford.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, because like Slip and Slide was a trademark name. It was actually just a water slide, but people just called it Slip and Slide. It's the same exact
thing. My dad, though, was still a kid.
Right.
And is still a kid to this very day. Mm-hmm. So he wanted, like, instead of Atari, we had Intellivision.
Right.
Okay. It's been this my entire damn life. My entire damn life. So, instead of McDonald's, we were a Burger King. Instead of Cokes, we drank Pepsi.
Right.
Yes, I know there's a large swath of people that do,
Right.
But it was always something different. And I swear to God, instead of laser tag, I had photon. No other kids had it. So I had to buy a second one just to be able to put it on somebody's neck, whereas there'd be 30 kids playing laser tag.
Right.
And I'm over there like, bing, 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 because that was just the way it was. But I remember I had the wet banana.
Right.
Which is just, it
was yellow, wasn't it?
It was.
Yes. All right. So I'm sorry. What is the next item on your list?
Slip and slide.
Oh, the slip and slide. Yes.
Yeah. In 1993, the Consumer Product Safety Commission issued a warning about slip and slide use by teenagers and adults. The slides just weren't long enough to account for an adult's weight or size. The abrupt stop at the end, in some cases, could result in permanent spinal damage. At the time of the warning, 1 teenager and 7 adults had become paralyzed or received neck injuries after playing on the slides.
Well, you basically run and throw yourself down on the ground. There's no padding. You have to put it on something. So
I remember the god-awfulest thing in the world. Mm-hmm. I feared all week long during church camp. Mm-hmm. And because on Friday at church camp was the slip and slide day. Mm-hmm. Now, at High Rock Bible Camp, most of the things were really cool because there was actually like some hiking you did. And literally there was like, it was like the rock formations and all this. It was fun, man.
Right.
And we were out there, and it was like your traditional camp, like Camp Crystal Lake looking thing. Mm-hmm. But there was a big hill, and on Friday they did the slip and slide deal, and there was several of them in a row, and I wanted nothing to do with that. I was always the kid that was like, you know what? I will be a statistic. If any kid here is going to break his damn arm, right, it's going to be me. And I'm just not going to do it. So it was, I didn't do it either.
I never did the slip and slides either. I never saw the benefit of it because, like I said, it's like you're throwing yourself down on the ground, and it just did not look fun to me. And I remember when I was younger, I used to have to go to where my mom worked after school because we were too young to stay home alone, and they had like a place for the kids to go, not like a daycare because we were too old for that, but we could be there. And the lady that owned the business, her grandsons would be there too. And they decided one day that they wanted to do a slip and slide, but they didn't have one. So they taped a bunch of trash bags together and ran a hose down it and on the concrete and slid on it. Pretty sure they tore themselves up pretty good.
Yeah. It
was ridiculous.
There were so many of those kids that I just remember those kids. I wasn't one of those kids.
No, me neither. It didn't look like enough fun to be that risky.
I had one, and I would play on it. I would some, but it just wasn't fun to me. It really wasn't.
I agree.
Number 18, Polly Pocket.
That's dangerous, huh?
The 2006 editions of the dolls had magnetized clothes and accessories, allowing little girls to change their outfits and make them up all differently. Seems safe enough, right?
Right.
Except for the magnets were small enough to eat or to wear as their own fake magnetized earring or nose ring, which led to incidents of accidental ingestion.
Oh, goodness.
The significant issue with this is that when 2 or more magnets get into your system, they try to meet, just like they would anywhere else. To do so, they will tear through whatever tissue or organ gets in their way.
Oh, that's awful. Yeah, you can't give kids little tiny magnets. I do remember those dolls. I never would have even thought of that.
Yeah. Number 17, the Bat Masterson Derringer belt gun.
Well, that just sounds dangerous.
That sounds fun. This was a little cap gun hidden in your belt buckle. Let's think about that for a minute. Not only is it a cap gun, but it was one pressed up against your body and pointed at your...
Oh, yeah, okay.
There's also the issue of caps exploding in these types of toy guns and burning children. So there's a lot of little burned Peters. And probably burned Franks and burned Jimmys and, you know.
Right.
Number 16, the Battlestar Galactica Colonial Viper.
I don't think I even remember what that is.
Oh, damn it, girl. Back in 1978, a boy shot himself in the throat with a detachable missile on this toy and tragically passed away. Warning labels on toys now include age appropriate to hopefully prevent accidents like this occurring again. Wow. And you can thank Battlestar Galactica's Colonial Viper for that.
For shooting a kid in the neck and causing all toys to have age-appropriate ratings on them.
Yeah, I mean, that's a hell of a missile.
Wow.
I mean,
it must have been pretty... I mean, it must have shot with some force.
Well, I mean, it had to take down Cylons. Wow. I mean, Cylons were freaking, hardcore,
Did you ever own that toy?
I owned a bunch of Battlestar Galactica stuff. I don't know if I owned that one or not.
It's probably a good thing.
I wasn't dumb enough to shoot myself in the throat. I would have shot my friend in the throat.
Not on purpose, yeah, or the cat or something. Yeah. Something would have got shot.
Yeah. Number 15, Bird of Paradise Slingshot. The Consumer Product Safety Commission was made for toys just like this one. There actually was a time when toys were only considered dangerous if they were comprised of dangerous substances. These slingshots just launched razor-sharp projectiles across the room. What could possibly go wrong?
So is it shaped like a bird? Do you shoot bird-shaped things?
I think it shoots birds.
Ah, I see. Razor-sharp birds.
Yeah, with beaks, yeah. Number 14, Super Blast Balls.
That's awful.
Yeah. They blast right in your face. I'm looking at the box right now. Toss in your hand, and it'll.
What does it say?
Super bang. Toss in your hand. They'll hit with a blast. Blast balls. Sounds like a cap gun. Lots of blast. Directions on back. Remember these little guys? They were little balls that, when crashed together, would spark and loudly pop.
Oh my gosh.
So they were basically caps that you set off in your hands instead of a cap gun. Given this, it's easy to see why it's eventually recalled.
Yeah, I would say that's terrible.
I really want some of those. That's cool, man. All right, number 13. Oh my God, this one, the Easy Bake Oven.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the one that got to be 900 degrees.
Any combination of children and ovens seems dangerous. However, one version of the Easy Bake Oven was especially violent. It was the pink and purple version, modeled after a kitchen stove. The way it was set up caused children's fingers to get caught, trapped, and then burned on the heating coils.
Ugh.
Number 12, lawn darts.
I had a feeling lawn darts was going to be on this list.
I don't know if I even have to go with the description here.
No.
You know what? I will anyway. They're interesting because they seem so obviously dangerous.
Right.
What part of throwing a weighted spike in the air and seeing where it lands seems safe? Yeah. Lawn darts did get the dog. I will say that. Number 11, Snack Time Cabbage Patch Kids. These Snack Time versions of these dolls had mechanical jaws.
Oh, dear Jesus. Sounds like a horror movie.
So as to eat whatever they were given, But those jaws didn't know the difference between food and, say, your little girl's fingers or
This is before computerized and sensors and stuff.
or long hair.
Oh, gosh.
And they kept chewing regardless of what was in their mechanical mouths.
Oh, my God. That is a horror movie.
Look, whatever
That's terrifying.
Yeah, whatever you put in there, it just kept raw, raw, raw. Oh, my God.
That's awful. I don't go to the next one. I wouldn't think about it. It's terrible.
Number 10. Oh, my God, I had a ton of these. Creepy crawlers. Toy Max's creepy crawlers had numerous hazards that completely negated its charm. Super hot trays of plastic to easily burn children? Check. Imminent fire hazard? Check. Plasticky staining goop, the consistency of syrup? Check. Oh, and fumes emitted while mixing all these charming ingredients were toxic.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I remember. I never had that toy, but I remember that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there was a stain on my parents' ceiling for a very long time from my creepy crawler.
Yeah, because you probably didn't read the directions and you probably mixed every single thing together.
I used to try
once.
to make things explode. That was
Clearly you did.
That was a big thing for me. Obviously, we're in the top 10 now, so these are all gold.
Okay.
Number 9, the Zulu blowgun.
like a dart blowgun, like a real one?
This list could have been solely comprised of small item choking hazards in children's toys, but this one takes the cake. The entire purpose of the blowgun is to stick the tube in your mouth and blow. However, if you inhale first...
Sorry, it's not funny.
Then you risk inhaling the dart or projectile objects into your mouth. The entire concept of the toy was a bad idea.
Do you think they even bothered to put it in the instructions to inhale before you put the thing in your mouth? I think like kids are going to remember that.
Number 8, CSI Investigation Forensics Lab Kit. Sometimes the crime scene you have to investigate is the crime scene investigation kit.
Wait, what?
These kits were found to have asbestos.
Oh, gosh.
They contained as much as 7% tremolite in their fingerprinting kits. A problem because of the obvious cancer risk. Wow.
Here, Jimmy, here's a box of asbestos for Christmas.
That is nuts. Moon shoes.
Oh, I remember those.
Mini trampolines on your feet.
Yeah.
Think that's dangerous?
Slightly.
Who knew? Many a broken ankle were caused by these dangerous kicks to this day. The 70s versions of these shoes upped the ante further by making them out of many small pieces of sharp metal. Even the 90s improvements led to problems. There's a photo of some of the problems.
I never had moon shoes. I remember them, but I had these. I don't even know what they were called or where they came from, but I had these things you would play with. They were buckets. This is no lie. I don't know if you've ever seen these. It was like 2 buckets with these handles, and you stood on the buckets and held the handles and walked with them.
No, I don't remember that.
I'm not sure if that was a real toy. I remember doing that, but I don't know if that was a real toy or if that was just something somebody gave me. It was like, here, walk on these. But I distinctly remember walking on these buckets, these upside down buckets that had like these plastic. I gotta look that up because I'm to this day not sure that was a real thing.
Yeah, I mean,
I had a great time with them. I was tall, it made me tall.
Were your parents going through a particularly rough financial time, or?
I don't know.
Anyway, number 6, Sky Rangers Park Flyer radio controlled airplane. Well, this one blew up. No, seriously, they would blow up all the time. And since they were launched by hand,
oh Jesus,
they offer the added risk of blowing up in a kid's hand or right next to their head. I don't guess we need to say what happened.
Nope.
We're in the top 5 now.
Wow.
Number 5, the Aqua Leisure inflatable baby boats. These boats seem like a great way for a parent to relax in the pool with their new baby. However, the leg straps were prone to tearing, allowing a defenseless baby to slip right through.
Oh my God.
The floats are recalled after 31 infants almost drowned. It turned out Aqualeisure had been aware of the problem for 6 years before the recall, and the Consumer Product Safety Commission fined the company $650,000 as a result. I think that should be jail time.
Right.
As a result.
Right. Yeah, that's terrible.
If I had my little wavy in a thing and it broke like that, I would drive to the company and murder everybody. They just didn't have the right kind of parent.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4, aqua dots. These dots, when sprinkled with water, would glue together into any shape your mind could come up with.
Mm-hmm.
Cute, colorful, and fun, right?
Right.
Except for the fact they're toxic.
Oh, no.
When ingested, the glue actually metabolized into GHB. The drug slipped into drinks of unsuspecting individuals to knock them out.
Oh, my God. Parents are giving their kids roofies?
Yeah. Kids were ingesting this chemical from their toys, and these things are still on the shelves to this day.
Oh, we probably shouldn't have said that.
Yeah. Well, there went the date rape. So I wouldn't. We should try it out.
No, we shouldn't.
Just gonna see if
I'm sure it's poisonous in some way too. That's terrible.
It is very crazy, isn't it? Number 3. Oh my God. The Gilbert glass blowing set.
Wait a minute. Glass blowing as a toy?
It's got little kids.
Oh
my
no.
God.
Oh no.
And I love it. It's an old school toy.
I'm sure it is.
Because it's got like the instruction guide and it says Gilbert Boy Engineering. It actually says Boy Engineering. Because girls wouldn't have been dumb enough to do it, probably.
They'd been like, that's probably going to be hot. Let's not touch it.
When you think of glass blowing, what do you think about? Extreme heat, sharp objects, molten glass, children's toy? Well, in the 1950s, apparently these characteristics were synonymous with child's play. The A.C. Gilbert Company's glass blowing set was all of those things and more. Go ahead, Timmy. Heat the glass to the malleable state, 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Wow.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a real thing, though. I'm looking at it here. I'm trying to see. Give your boy, I can't believe it says like that. Give your boy helpful scientific toys. Train his mind. Build his future. Gilbert outfits for surveying, hydraulic and pneumatic engineering, chemistry, electricity, light, sound, magnetism, weather, and other sciences will do this. They are illustrated and described in our folder, sent free on request, with facts about the free Gilbert Engineering Institute for Boys. Gilbert Boy Engineering, a wonderfully interesting and helpful book for boys, sent postpaid on receipt of 25 cents, the cost of its printing and mailing. Use the coupon below from the A.C. Gilbert Company. That's pretty amazing. And you know what? Wow. I'm looking at it though. It's some really damn cool toys.
I'm sure the chemistry set has like real plutonium and everything.
I wonder how much the little surveying boy here got laid. You know?
I wonder if that surveying stuff comes with that outfit.
They sell the outfits. That's what it says.
The little pants that go around your knees and the caps.
They sell the outfits and then whatever kind of engineer you want to be. And
wow.
Yeah, I mean it's
a different time.
Those guys probably run NASA now.
I'm sure they do.
The ones that lived.
And didn't like glue their hands together with molten glass. Oh my God. Anyway.
Number 2, the Empire Little Lady Stove. Metalware released the Empire Miniature Electric Ranges, targeted towards little girls to help them learn to cook and bake.
Oh my.
Consider that most regular ovens have a limit of 550 degrees, but these kid-sized versions reached temperatures of 600 degrees.
Why would you give your child a little metal oven that got to be 600 degrees? Were kids back then just more responsible?
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure they probably were.
Yeah. I mean, you know why?
Because they would have died if they weren't.
Yeah. It was after the first time your parents gave you something that blew off the tip of your finger.
After you lost a few siblings, you learned to straighten up.
We all went to school with a kid missing an appendage. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember a bunch of mutilated kids at my schools. Like, did you not have a kid in your class that was a burn victim? Like there's always like that, you know what I'm saying? Like, and you just knew nobody wanted to end up like you know, Ralph. It's like, what happened to Ralph? Oh, he was playing with that chemistry set, blew his lips off, you know?
Lips off. Okay, anyway.
And believe it or not, there is a number one. And funny enough, I knew this was going to be number one because this is one of the famous ones that I know of and I remember. Number one is the U-238 Atomic Energy Lab.
Oh, wow.
And it's our friends at A.C. Gilbert, by the way.
I'm sure.
A.C. Gilbert, the same man responsible for the Gilbert glassblowing set and erector sets too, but those are just awesome. Was also responsible for releasing Radiation as a toy for kids. These atomic energy labs came with 3 different types of live uranium ore.
Oh, this Gilbert guy, he didn't have kids, did he?
And a Geiger counter.
Oh, no.
Just in case you want to measure the amount of radiation that you're receiving. I kid you not. This is one of my favorite toys of all time. If I could find one of these things.
Wow. Does it also come with instructions on when to get away from the radiation?
You know, I don't believe it's even legal now to have uranium ore.
No, I don't think so.
The 50s were a simpler time. I mean, can you imagine the kids, like, you know, because there's a little boy getting this for Christmas.
some boy growing up and be like, I can't have children. I don't know why.
I mean, it was either because of, you know, the cap gun that blew his pecker off, or the radiation,
or just that silly little outfit he keeps wearing. I don't know.
Lower the sperm count. Those shorts are a bitch. Oh my God. Well, that's the toys.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought you would enjoy
I got a few
that.
ideas for Christmas.
Yeah, I bet you do. I bet you do. So that's my list on the most dangerous toys. If you guys have a super dangerous toy, or if you blew your lips off as a kid, be sure to get a hold of us, man. Let us know. I'd like to know. Like, I'll update it on next week's show with some dangerous toys that we failed to mention. You can get, you know, any of the social media. Just get a hold of us. Let us know. You know, what your dangerous toy experience was, or if you have a cousin. Well, you had a cousin that played with that, and any of our older listeners, if you had any of that fine Gilbert toys, let me know about that as well. I'd like to know if anybody actually survived that. But that's it for halftime, and we're now going to get on with the rest of the story.
All right, so more news stories. Let's get into the rest of this news, some more interesting things. So this first one we're going to talk about is not really an update, but it does relate to a story that we did a few months ago. Now, do you remember back in, I think it was August, we talked about the Russian cosmonaut that was on the International Space Station, and he took a video and he released it and it had all the weird, mysterious lights in it.
I remember.
Right. So recently, there was this interview with an astronaut named Tim Peake, and he has just come back from being on the International Space Station himself. He's British. And he was doing this interview on Good Morning Britain this past week. And he started telling this story about how he saw some unusual lights outside the International Space Station. And it was this big, I mean, it was a huge deal, and it freaked him out. He saw like 3 or 4 lights, and it was the daytime. And he was like, you know, I know what you should see and what you shouldn't see in space. And he saw these lights flying in formation during the day. And he said the only time you see a light in the daytime is if there's another spacecraft out there. Right? So he's telling this whole story, and he gets to the end, and he said that he alerted all his crewmates, and they scrambled, and they started working out what the mysterious lights could be. And then they figured it out. Through careful examination, they realized that what they were seeing was Russian urine that was leaking from the Progress vehicle. So apparently this urine was leaking, and it immediately crystallized and froze in the cold of space and floated away. And I guess the light bounced off of it, and it looked like lights outside of the International Space Station.
Wow. I thought for a second you were going to tell me that it was like cosmonauts from Chernobyl. It's like in Soviet Russia.
No. So I thought this story was really interesting for a couple of reasons. One, because it was an interesting story, but two, I thought it was really funny that they made a point to say that he saw lights, sort of like that other video, and that they figured out what it was, and it wasn't anything, and it was even Russian pee.
Yeah, do you think the Russian was seeing his own pee? Well, I mean, in the one that the cosmonaut, he actually in that one, it was, they explained it too. It was the Northern Lights, wasn't it?
Well, he was filming the Northern Lights, but then there were like actual white, like looking lights out there as well. I don't remember them ever coming up with an official explanation for it. So I just thought this one was really interesting, almost like they were trying to, give a good explanation for why people would see lights.
Yeah, stuff can happen up there.
The International Space
Station. You never
Station.
know when rogue pee's gonna be
leaking off something.
Well, did they ever fix the leak?
I think that they eventually, it took them a really long time, but I think they finally found where the leak was.
For those of you who don't know, probably 10 months ago or so, we had a story that was about a slow air leak on the International Space Station.
Yeah, and they all had to stay in like one little section so that they could depressurize and try and figure out where the leak was. I think they finally found it. It took them a while, but I think they finally found it. Yes. All right, so let's move on and talk about a somewhat creepy discovery this couple found when renovating their 16th century farmhouse.
Oh, well, I mean, you kind of go into that one expecting, don't you?
Yeah, I think so. So this woman named Carrie Jackson and her husband have been busy restoring their home in North Wales. And now this is a house that has been in her husband's family for generations.
Wow.
So they've owned it for a long time, and they're sort of renovating it, doing some work, making sure, keeping the foundations up and stuff. And as they were doing the work, they were restoring this one area near the staircase. Now, the staircase had been built in front of a sealed up medieval doorway that once connected different parts of the house. And, a long time ago.
Did they know about the doorway being there?
I believe they did, because they said it once connected parts of the house and it was covered up, and then they built this staircase kind of over it.
You gotta admire the Brits, because you, my beautiful wife, would not allow there to be a door that you didn't. I mean, it would be like, we gotta get in a door. We gotta go look.
Well, no, it wasn't like a closet. It there used to be a connection between the house, and then it was, I guess, more like an archway, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. That's the way I picture it. So anyway, they're renovating the timber frame, doing some work on it, and they happened to notice something through this hole that they had made in the wall while doing the renovations. And they had no idea what it was, and so they kind of looked down in there and they noticed this strange bundle sort of stuffed into the void where the woodwork would be. And so when they started maneuvering, they finally managed to get it out, and they found that this bundle contained a number of odd shoes, some various animal skulls, rusted gun barrels, and what looked like to be half-eaten remains of like a hat.
Oh, wow.
Yes, it was all very crazy stuff. And he said as they kept pulling them out, they just eventually lined up 8 odd shoes, all for the left foot. All left foot shoes.
Jesus. Must have been from a kid that owned the chemistry set.
It was ranging from like men's work boots all the way down to toddler shoes.
So it wasn't elves then. I thought you were going to tell me it was like little person shoes.
No, all different sizes. And and when I first read this and I heard that they found animal skulls, I thought maybe just some animals got in the walls, but there was remnants of a horse's skull in there. And of course, there's not a horse in the walls of the house. A wool hat, parts of a gun barrel.
Wouldn't that be interesting though? Yeah. I mean, you talk about being scared in the middle of the night. There
was some kind of smaller skull, but they weren't sure what kind of animal that belonged to. So they started sort of doing some research on why these items would be in that part of the house. They had no idea. And they found going online and doing some research, they figured out that there's an old superstition that says that witches would enter homes between places, such as like staircases and walls and things like that. And sometimes people would put these sort of things in those areas to kind of distract the evil from coming in. Like it would smell the shoes and be distracted, or it would go get caught, or there's a lot of different.
I wonder why you cut a freaking
no
horse's
idea
head off.
Why there would be a horse's head in there. I don't think that they're particularly sure either, but they thought it was really cool. And here's the best part of this story: this couple documented everything they found, and then they wrapped it all back up and put it back in the wall. So wasn't that cool?
I just have to make the point here. Mm-hmm. We've done a lot of stories, as 10 years, folks.
Right.
A legit 10 years of these stories. And it never surprises me because every year we have probably a dozen or so stories about finding, a jar of, that was witch gittle or, witch bane and witch bloomers, it's always witch this or witch that, and it's always the most freaking horrible stuff. Like it'll be a jar of teeth, well, we used to kill our youngest and put her entrails in a raccoon's ass and hang it from the door. And it's
right.
They did far worse than the witches ever did. Here's this poor, witch out in the picking.
I'm going to pick my herbs and make everybody feel better and maybe do a love potion for Gilda. And, we got a witch is trying to fix ED for Uncle Tom. Mm-hmm. And, here they are in there, like, honestly, it's horrible stuff most of the time.
Mm-hmm, it is.
People hear this stuff and it's always got like witch's name in front of it. Mm-hmm. But that's not because a witch made it. It's because of some crazy Puritan.
Right. It wants to keep the witches away.
Yeah. So they sacrifice a freaking animal. And
I know. My favorite story was the guy that found the witch's bottle, but he thought it was wine, and so he took a sip and it was like pee.
Yeah, it's like the left shoes. They're probably put there so it would confuse the witch,
Right, all left shoes.
All left shoes.
Which is like, I don't want to come in this house. These people only have one leg.
Yeah, there's obviously a horse.
There's obviously some kind of weird genetic thing going on here.
Obviously a one-legged horse in here.
So, I don't know. It's kind of a cool story. It's not your usual thing that you find. I like that they put it back because it was supposedly some sort of house protection that they figure was done. So they were like, well, if it's protecting the house, let's just leave it alone.
Well, yeah. To be honest with you, I would put it back too, simply because of the way curses work.
Right.
And you don't want to be that one person, right? That's just like, kind of like when they got in King Tut's tomb, and they were like, I think every act of cursed death has started with, nah,
it'll be fine.
It's gonna be fine. Come on, what's the worst that could happen?
Right.
So,
I don't understand people that dig up these witches' bottles. They're like, oh, it's a witch's bottle. It was put here to keep the witches out of this house and protect the blah, blah, blah. Let's just put it in this museum and not bury it back in the hole that it came out of.
I like the ones where they've got stuff on graves. To keep it in the grave,
Right, and then they take it all out. Let's just take that nail out of there. That'll be fine.
It's kind of funny. I don't know why this prompted this. One story that I thought was going to be one of our headlines, because sometimes I get the stories and I'll just send them based on the headline to Stacey. And so I thought it was like definitely our headline. I get a hold of her and I'm like, babe, my God, what about the story I just sent you? And she's like, what? And I'm just like, the one about the damn, this is scary. About the damn, zombie minks that are walking around.
Oh.
They killed millions of them, and they're walking up and raising from the dead, and just to let you know what clickbait is.
Yes. Oh, headlines. Don't you love the headlines? Yes, there was a story about minks rising from the grave, but it wasn't like Dawn of the Dead and, walking dead minks or anything. The minks, they had these mink farms, and I guess they tested some of them and they had a strain of coronavirus and they were just worried about it, so they culled a bunch of the animals and then they buried them.
The minks wouldn't wear their little mask.
I know, it was terrible. Such rebels. And so they buried them, and I think they buried them just really quickly in haste, and their little bodies filled with some kind of gas, like turned into gas, and it made them rise up to the top of the surface of the dirt. But I'm not sure what the process was and why it was bad, but so the story was that it looked like they were rising from the grave.
But in my defense, the damn picture, they had got a picture of like a red-eyed minx, and it looked like it was like had its little hands in front of it.
It
like,
was still alive. That picture was still alive, but it did look very creepy.
Yeah.
And they did make it sound like zombie minx.
Yeah, like it was coming. I was just like, well, there you go. This is it. This is actually the start. It felt like the start of a freaking zombie movie. They've been prepping us for years. Here it goes. But yeah, anyway, zombie minx.
Oh, wow. All right, so let's move on. Let's talk about something creepy that's happening in a village.
Oh, yeah.
Because creepy things always happen.
Beware of the village.
Villages, right. This has happened in Malaysia. And multiple people in different villages have reported hearing a persistent knocking at their door, but not finding anyone there when they've looked out to see who it was.
Oh, wow.
And
that's happened to me.
And it's not just one person, which was what makes the story weird. It's not like one person reported this. This happened to a gentleman. He was at home. He was in his kitchen. I think he was watching TV and having a snack or something. And there was knocking on the door, and it was persistent, like somebody really needed to get in. Like maybe they needed help.
Open the side door.
So he went. At first he was kind of just ignoring it, and it kept getting louder. So he peeked out the window, and no one was outside the house. So he sort of was really confused, and he didn't understand what it was. But then all of a sudden he heard the knocking inside his house on the bathroom door, and it absolutely just freaked him out. And so when he shared his experience on social media, he realized it wasn't just an isolated incident, that there were other people in his own village that had their own accounts of being pestered by this weird knocking, and people in other villages that were kind of around where he lives, like all sort of in the same area. And so it's just a really odd thing. Now, there is a video circling that of someone that supposedly has a mysterious knocker. I watched the video. It doesn't seem, I mean, it seems like a hoax because the person's standing there and they hear the knocking and then they wait like 20 seconds and then they open the door. Right. So not super eerie, but the fact that all these people have had this complaint, and that is a paranormal thing. The knocking is very much a paranormal thing. It's happened to me, and that is, I know there's like stories out there. Sometimes it can be an omen. Like some people are like, oh, that's an omen. If you're very superstitious, sometimes people say it's an omen of like death or something bad coming, but that's not always the case. I don't think. I think it's just maybe somebody's getting your attention or some kind of sign. I mean, it could be a multitude of things.
Yeah. I mean, and you know, really though, traditionally most villages have an abundance of knockers, you know, that are just freely, hanging out. Sorry, let's just go ahead and go to the next story.
We're just gonna move on from that. All right. Well, I did like that story because, like you said, you have had that experience.
Oh yeah, in a scary, scary way.
Yes, and
many times.
The fun thing I thought was kind of interesting about the story is they're looking out their windows. They're not just immediately running to the door and opening it like, say, we would do.
Yeah.
When we probably shouldn't.
Right.
We would just run and open the door. All right. So let's move on. Let's talk about the weird thing that Zach Bagans has bought now for his haunted museum.
And we're not talking about Dracula's Castle, which was his purchase a couple weeks ago.
I know. Man, I'm so jealous. I wonder what he's going to do with it. Besides make a documentary on it.
Yeah, I mean,
but
I don't know how
can
parties.
Do something. All right, so he went to an auction. He loves to do this kind of thing, get things for his haunted museum, and he bought a movie prop from Poltergeist.
Oh yeah.
He bought the clown, the creepy clown from the bedroom. Supposedly it's supposed to be haunted. You know, the whole movie's supposed to be cursed, but this clown especially, I think, has its own little cursed history. I know when we did our watch-along thing at Halloween, you were talking about how the kid that played the son was really choked by that clown, like it was animatronic or something, and I think it malfunctioned or
that's probably what prompted Zach to buy
something crazy. He plunked down a pretty good chunk of change on it.
Yeah,
$80,000.
Yeah.
So, but it is an iconic piece of classic horror, you know, memorabilia, and it is going to go. I think he said he was going to keep it in his bedroom for a while.
Yeah,
but then he was going to, I guess, eventually put it in the museum. So.
Yeah, I mean, hey man, more power.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very cool. I mean, I would probably already own the bed that, Linda Blair was tied to.
I don't want to know why. It's okay.
No, I mean, I'm just saying it's because it's iconic.
Right. You're like, are these the actual sheets? Yeah, okay.
I'd be giving you a white dress and some pea soup. So,
wow. All right, so we have one more story here.
All right,
and let's talk about some scientists who are doing this horrible thing with monkeys.
Whoa! Wrong show.
Well, these particular scientists are splicing human genes into monkeys' brains to make the monkeys' brains bigger and make them smarter.
They've been doing that for years. They're just now telling you.
Yes, I know. So it was a study done by Japanese and German researchers, and they injected a gene. It directs stem cells in the human brain into the dark, and they've been putting it into the dark matter of these monkey fetuses. Now, they found after doing this that the primates' brains soon became more human-like by developing larger, more advanced neocortexes, which is the area that controls your cognition and your language. Now, according to the images released by the researchers, the modified monkey's brains nearly doubled in size around 100 days into gestation. So they considered that a huge success, and ultimately they opted to abort the monkey fetuses due to, quote, unforeseeable consequences. They had no idea what was going to happen. So this was conducted by the Planck Institute of Molecular Cell Biology and Genetics in Germany, and also the Central Institution for Experimental Animals in Japan, which both sound like really dangerous places.
Yeah, they should just call it the Chimera Institute. I mean, dude, listen, you know as well as I do, they didn't abort the damn things. I mean, they may have done one, but I bet you there's a bunch of like cigar smoking monkeys.
If you go down low enough, and the low enough level underground in one of these researches, the monkeys are working down there.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's just.
Who do you think let this press release out?
Yeah. It's just ridiculous. I'm completely against any kind of gene splicing stuff like that, I've always been against cloning and all this because it's just such a. You're just playing God, man. It's just not good. And unless they can make me a butler monkey, then that speaks British.
No, you're either for or against. You can't be like, I'll just take the British butler monkey.
I disagree. The British butler monkey is completely okay. If we could just splice a butler brain into a monkey, tell me you wouldn't want a butler monkey.
I want them to tell me what the purpose is of this kind of like gene splicing. Like, what are they trying to accomplish by making monkeys smarter and more human-like?
I don't know.
What is the end game here?
I would do it maybe if I wanted to make fighting monkeys. Well, I mean, it'd be a cool, like, imagine, because there's so much damage that happens in like mixed martial arts, right? If we could just make them like little mixed martial arts monkeys and
wow,
I don't know.
Yeah, well, anyway, so that is something that's happening that is terrifying.
Yeah,
horror movie stuff, absolute horror movie stuff.
No, yeah, and they're out there. they're definitely out there, and it's stupid. Don't do it. Don't do it, because you're really treading on some dangerous waters here. I'm just letting you know. It's bad, guys, and they've been doing this stuff for years and years and years. They really have. It's terrifying.
On a completely unrelated subject, did you see the video of the squirrel that got drunk on the fermented fruits?
No.
It's hilarious.
No, I have not seen that, but that could be everybody's homework for this week. Anyway, hope you guys loved the new style of the show. If you liked it, let us know. If you didn't like it, let us know that as well. We'll be right back at you here next week. It's a good thing about it is we're back. We're knock on wood, not sick, and be bringing you episode after episode. So back in the saddle again, my fine friends. We love every one of you and hope that everybody's healthy and wealthy and wise. So for my lovely wife Stacey, my name's John. So long from the Sideshow.
Good night.